Hey, welcome back to the most popular, least watched automotive enthusiast channel on YouTube. Today we're going to pop pressure test, calibrate, and install brand new Monark fuel injection nozzles all the way from Germany. And along the way we're going to inspect and clean our pre-chambers. And if that doesn't do it for you, I really can't help you. All right, we're back. So I decided to go ahead and install some Monark fuel injection nozzles just to see what all the hubbub was about. I have already removed these fuel injection nozzles before in a prior video, so if you want to go back and check out that process of removing these, go right ahead. I'm not going to video that here today. I'm going to concentrate on the pop pressure testing and calibration of the Monark nozzles and follow up with the installation, as well as removal and inspection of the pre-chambers for this video. So the basic process of removing these from the engine, from my perspective, you know, a lot of folks, they'll take this fuel injection high pressure hose assembly and just remove it completely. You know, last time I did this, I didn't do that. I just removed these little clamps here and here and here and here. And I left this in place, mostly because I didn't really like the idea of exposing these ports down here. So I just loosened this here, took this off, and loosened that, and then just moved it slightly out of the way and pulled the fuel injector out that way. So that's kind of the way I'm going to approach this. So once I get this stuff loosened up, I'll do each one of these one at a time. All right, let's review the parts and tools that we have for our project here. We have 5 Monark fuel injection nozzles all the way from Germany. We have from Germany as well the shims that we will be using to calibrate each injector nozzle. This bag is 0.1 and these 2 bags are 0.2, and you can stack these however you want to obtain the proper pop pressure. We have some pre-chamber heat seals, got 5 new ones, and we also have 1 injector nozzle collar. In case I mess one up, we'll have a spare. We have 6 of these pre-chamber seals. I don't know why I have 6, but we do have. We have a spare if we need it, and we have a replacement pre-chamber. This is from a salvage car. It's a good used part. So if we run across a bad pre-chamber, we'll have that to replace it. If we run across 2, well, I'll have to order another one. And we have a collar removal tool. It's a JTC 4544. And lastly, we have a pre-chamber removal slide hammer. All right, well, there you go. There's the basic parts and tools that we'll be using for our project. So let's get a move on and get fuel injector number 1 removed from the car. All right, we've got our first fuel line loosened and moved out of the way. And if you can't recall, it does in fact take a 27 millimeter socket. Needs to be fairly deep, by the way. You can't get a shorty. Needs to be nice and deep. So let's get a breaker bar on there and get number 1 out of the engine. Okay, let's go ahead and remove the pre-chamber on number 1 as well. We've already got the fuel injector out, and there's the heat shield. Here is the collar that goes around it. This is the new one, for example. It has 2 slots in it. And I'm going to use our special collar removal tool. You slip the flanges down in the slots like that. And these threads will go down in here like this. And you just simply tighten it up until it tightens up against there. And then you can get a big wrench on this and remove the collar. All right, we've got you zoomed in there. Let's go ahead and get the collar removal tool set into place. First glance, it looks like it doesn't have enough room between there and that bolt, but I think it'll be okay. All right, we'll tighten that down a little tighter. All right, so the exterior part of the collar removal tool is 1 1/4 inches. I don't know what it is in metric, but I really don't care. I've got a big 1 1/4 inch wrench here to hold it in place while we tighten the inner part of the collar removal tool, and for that we have a 24 millimeter socket. I don't expect this will take a tremendous amount of force, but I don't want the bottom part tightening further, right? So anyway, you get the point. That should be good enough, although I didn't feel that move at all. All right, so let's go ahead and get our 1¼ inch socket on the outer part of this collar removal tool. All right, we've got a 1¼ inch socket for the exterior of the collar removal tool and a breaker bar, and I believe that will be sufficient to get this guy out of the engine. Let's find out. Hey, look at that. I was expecting that to be on there with like 1,000,000 foot-pounds or something. All right, so that's what that looks like. The collar removal tool thoroughly embedded in the collar. So let's get this apart and take a look at it. All right, let's get our 24mm here and take this tool apart. There we go. All right, tool's off. And there is our original collar. It looks like it's in pretty good shape, and I don't really see a reason why we can't reuse that. Let's go ahead and get our pre-chamber out. We're going to install our slide hammer, lower adapter part. You want to choose the finer threaded end. You want to get it down in there as far as you can and grab as many threads as you can for obvious reasons. Let's go ahead and get our slide hammer installed next. Might as well get all the threads down in there. And away you go. There we go. The tone changes when it starts to let loose. All right, let's take this over to the bench. We've got the pre-chamber out of the engine and over to the bench. It's this moment in the video that I would like to take time out to bare my soul. Because I did this. You guys know what that is, don't you? Yeah, I did that. I did that. I did that. Okay, I made a mistake. I got in a hurry and I completely forgot to take the glow plug out. Okay, fine, sue me. Some lessons are just hard learned. I can't recall how many videos I've watched or how many blogs I've read about forgetting to take that stupid thing out before you remove the pre-chamber. So, good thing we have a spare one because now we have this huge gap in the pre-chamber. But let's move on, shall we? I also have spare glow plugs. So anyway, well, you know, when you're stupid, you need spares. So let's just take a look at this thing and see if there's anything wrong with it other than, let's see, that looks like rust. There's some red down there on the bottom. Well, not now, but a fair amount of carbon, but it's not horrible. And there's some carbon on the bottom of it as well. And let's see, the little ball thingy in the bottom is still there. If I hadn't ruined it, this probably would have been still a good pre-chamber. You know, the more I look at this, the more I find it hard to believe that that glow plug could do that much damage to that injection pre-chamber. So if the evidence means what it seems to mean, this piece was broke off right there, and here's a spare I had, right? So that means the glow plug sticks into the pre-chamber up to about right there. If you try to stick it all the way in like that, this doesn't even go down into that groove. You pull it out just a little, come to about right there, then it fits in that little groove right there. I'm finding it very hard to believe that I caused all of that damage by extracting this pre-chamber without removing this. I can understand causing this or digging this groove out right here, right? Digging that groove out. But this pre-chamber is made out of some pretty thick steel, man. I mean, it's very substantial. That is just a little bizarre to me. I'm wondering if that was already there. I know I probably caused this gouge right here, but did I make that big dip right there? And even if I did, so if that came up, that metal, if I dug this out, that metal should have ended up in the bottom of this. All right, it's a little bit of a mystery here, caused by my stupidity. However, I can't help but wonder if I had removed this first and then pulled this out, would I still see this dip right here? So, all right, more research to do. All right, so, however, if you take a look at this much more catastrophic damage here, I don't really see any evidence. The sides of this, that is not a new damage, if you get my meaning. I think this pre-chamber was damaged before I pulled it out. This gouge right here, I believe I caused that. This missing piece of metal, it's nowhere to be found. It wasn't in the pre-chamber. It's not in the engine. I went and bought a nice magnet like this, and I looked all down inside my cylinder. This piece of metal is not in there. This is old damage. So, I will tell you this. I've had this annoying little, what I call injector nailing issue or sound coming from cylinder number 1 for months and months now, and I've been trying to figure out what in the world is going on. I think this pre-chamber was damaged at some point in the past, and this extra gap may have been causing, improper fuel distribution. And but I really don't know. I really cannot say with any certainty if it was. So let's compare these holes here. Let's take a look at that. Those appear to be about the same size. They don't appear to be burnt out or anything. If we look down in there, what do we see? Wait a minute, I do see a difference. What's going on here? That is a 61703. And that is a 61704. I'm going to need to figure out whether or not I purchased the correct pre-chamber now. So let me get back with you here. I need to check these numbers and see what that's about. Plus, you can see the physical difference there between the old one and the new one. All right, a little more research on the old computer, that is. It looks like there's different series or versions of these pre-chambers. And frankly, I don't know which is which. This is a 61704, and the hole in the bottom is a good bit smaller. That's a 61703, and the hole is a good bit larger. What's the difference? I don't know. I was going to try to do this one at a time, but now my curiosity has been piqued, so we're going to go ahead and remove pre-chamber number 2 and compare it to this one and see which one it matches. And this time, I think we'll take the glow plug out first. I want to get that down there as far as you can. I bet this one comes out a lot easier. There we go. Now we'll get this one on the bench and have a look-see. All right, so we got number 2 out of the engine. You can see right here you have some white accumulation there on the tip. And I'm not sure what that is all about. Possibly this one was burning hotter than the other one. When I removed this one, it did not have all of that white stuff on it. It did have some red on it. It looked a little bit like rust, to be honest with you. And that red down in there looks like rust. I bet that was coming out of my fuel tank. But yeah, that one does too. See that rusty color down in there? That's not cool, man. Anyway, but the it looks all right, I suppose. Well, of course, we'll clean them up before we get them back in the engine. So, all right, next up, let's move on and do some pop pressure testing on some new Monark nozzles. All right, you may recall that put these Furad made in Italy injection nozzles in this engine several months ago. But, the engine runs fine. I got 29 miles to the gallon. I thought maybe there was still some level of improvement that we could achieve, and I just wanted to try the Monarchs to see how well they performed as well. So if you want to look in the previous video about how to take one of these fuel injectors apart, then by all means, look back in some of my previous videos and check those out. But for now, I'm going to go ahead and reassemble this #1 fuel injector with this brand new Monarch nozzle that is currently soaking in brand new diesel fuel. For reassembly, we're going to clean up the surfaces of the various components in the nozzle. Up next, we've got a little bit of 2000 grit sandpaper on the bench vise here, on the flat part of it right there. So that's the flattest thing I have in my shop. We're going to see if we can't clean that up just a little bit before we reassemble this fuel injector. All right, just a few passes with 2000 grit. Looking pretty good already. And the LED light in the camera brings out every minute detail. But when I look at this with my eyeballs, it looks pretty good. All right, I'm calling that good, folks. All right, let's go ahead and surface the other side of our nameless part here. Wish I could think of the name of it right now, but my brain is brain dead, I guess. A little more diesel fuel on that. Looks pretty clean. I don't see any discoloration or deep gouges. I just see a nice surfaced area there. So we will clean that up with a little carb cleaner off camera. Up next, we'll resurface this end of the injector housing. That one has a little bit of discoloration. So it's good that we're cleaning this up. That's what it looks like without wiping it off. I did have a little bit of discoloration. There was a ring around it, actually. So we got that off of there. I think that looks pretty good. All right, we're going to clean that off with a little bit of carb cleaner, and we're going to put this fuel injector back together. All right. The time that everyone has been waiting for is at hand. You've caught me right here in the middle of making a video that I've been talking about for weeks. And that is the Monarch fuel injection nozzle, pop pressure testing, calibration, and installation in our old 300 SD. And everything seems to be going along just fine until I opened my Monarch fuel injection nozzles. The infamous, or is it infamous or famous? I don't know. Anyway, well, these have been sitting around unopened in my shop for weeks. I haven't fooled with them. I haven't opened them. They aren't rusted, on the outside anyway. When I started to do #1 fuel injector, and the very first nozzle that I got out of the package, guess what? Watch this. These Monarch nozzles are known for their highly precise machining and precision. Let's just take this apart. What's going on here? Okay, well, there you go. Rusted shut, I assume, on the inside. Probably sitting on the shelf of some manufacturer in Europe for who knows how long. These might, in fact, be factory seconds. I don't know. Couldn't tell you. All I can tell you is that I'm really, really disappointed. I've been thinking about doing this video for quite some time. As a matter of fact, I found 2 of these injector nozzles in the same state, and neither one of these will come apart. And the other 3 that do come apart don't feel any better. And as a matter of fact, they may not feel as machined as well as the Italian-made Fiords that I put in the car a few months back. I'm not installing those in my car. I'm going to reassemble this car back the way it was with the Fiord nozzles in place, and I'm going to keep on running them. So I'm going to chalk that up to a fail, ladies and gentlemen. Pretty disappointing, to be honest with you. I had hoped to have a nice video on with some pop pressure testing. I got my my hydraulic pump out there, and I bought a nice jar, and I was going to set the camera up there and, you know, show off how good these Monark nozzles were and how they didn't have any streamers or anything. It had just a nice clean spray pattern. But well, that's just not going to happen now, is it? So it looks like that's all she wrote for this video, folks. All I'm going to do is put this car back together. The only difference being with number 1, we'll have a new Prechamber. So there you have it. Appreciate you guys stopping by the channel. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. If you'd like to be notified whenever I release a new failure video just like this one, please remember to click that little bell down below. You guys have a good one, and remember to enjoy driving your classic Mercedes.